What's up, everybody? We are back with another high ticket sales role play. In this role play, Matt is going to be the closer for a health offer. This is not your typical bodybuilding, build muscle type of health offer or just a traditional weight loss health offer. This is a health offer for people that have struggled chronically with deeper issues in their health, their fitness, their well-being, and it's causing them a massive amount of pain and discomfort over a long enough period of time that they're really at the point now where they want to get to the root cause of what's causing them all these issues. We then have Alex, who's going to play the prospect here for us. And during this role play, we're going to go through the discovery and break down how you go deeper with prospects, how you also have to have your internal mastery down so that you can actually challenge a prospect. You can uncover what's really going on by silencing your mind and being present. And then ultimately, what you need to do to get to the next level as a high ticket closer, which, as I said, is mastering the nuances of the discovery. That prevents you having to do objection handling, prevents you having to memorize scripts, prevents you having to do follow-up, and ultimately prevents you never getting to the next level in terms of your income and the lifestyle that you truly want to live. So without any further ado, Matt, kick us off with your opening question.
So Alex, I went through your assessment. I got all of those details. And I'm curious, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge you're having with your health right now?
Yeah, so I'm running a business right now, Matt, and it's a restaurant business. And so, I'm on my feet all day. I'm working, 9, 10 hours a day. And I'm having to drink, 3, 4 cups of coffee a day. I'm just extremely tired when I get up in the morning. And I'm also a natural bodybuilder. So I've been, I train for 2 hours a day, usually 5 days a week. And I'm having to take, tons of pre-workout just to like get myself to the gym. And I'm also now noticing that like mentally, I've got a lot of brain fog. So I used to be like really sharp, really quick, and be able to handle things with like customers and suppliers and my team. And now I'm just like almost just a little bit foggy mentally, and I'm starting to get some skin issues as well. So I'm noticing like my skin is not as clear, not as you know clear as it used to be. So I'm just dealing with a few different issues right now.
Understood. So you're extremely tired when you
Hang on,
get
let
up.
me let me let me pause you for a sec. Everyone in the chat, Matt included, when Alex gave that response to the opening question, what were you all feeling, guys? What were you all thinking and feeling? In the chat, guys. Pop in the chat. Matt asked the opening question. Alex then responded. Interesting, Faith. Very interesting. Frustration, felt warm, bit scripted. Interesting, guys. Tell me if any of you disagree with what I'm about to say. Did any of you think, holy, this guy's got a lot of challenges? He's got his bodybuilding, he's got his business, he's got his mental clarity, he's got his skin. Did nobody think, holy shit, this isn't a guy that's just saying, oh, hey, I've started to get bad skin, or hey, I've put on weight, or hey, I'm a bodybuilder and I'm struggling to have the energy. It's everything. His income, his aesthetics, his passion, his mental clarity. Did nobody pick up on that? Or does anybody disagree with what I said, that it was like, wow, this is like everything?
That's 100% what a lot of the people that I talk to,
Okay.
especially men, are like, obviously they're more reserved about it. They tend more to rationalize, but it is a lot like that. I'll ask the biggest challenge question and they'll give me a few things.
Yep. So if that's what the prospect is saying, what should we naturally be thinking when the prospect gives us that tirade of information? And
There's
I'm
a
not
lot of
talking
pain to
about,
uncover here.
okay, let me clarify. I'm not talking about from a sales perspective, just on a human to human level. If your buddy, let's take it out of a sales context. If your buddy came to you and said, "Hey man, I've got some health issues." And you said, "Oh, what health issues?" And he said, "Wow, it's it's affecting my business, it's affecting my bodybuilding, it's affecting how sharp I am, it's affecting my skin." Look at Alex's comment or Jeremy's. You'd be like, "Damn." Now, part of sales, guys, is just being human. So it's very unhuman for someone to give you a response to that and you to just go, understood.
Okay.
Because you're removing the connection of like, wow, man, it sounds like this is affecting you pretty much in every way. So the response to what someone gives you before you do a recap needs to be human. If someone says something that's very logical, you say, got it. Someone says something very logical, you say, understood. If someone says something kind of weird, you might say, interesting. If someone says something that you're like, holy shit, you probably wouldn't say holy shit, but you'd say, wow. And you might clarify, wow, it sounds like you've got a lot going on as far as this affecting you. And just those little moments where you be human, it affects what happens when you ask the next question. It affects how much someone is choosing to open up to you on the very next question. One by one, your response to the prospect's response is going to make your life harder as a closer or make your life easier as a closer. And obviously, people don't train on this because everyone's training on what is the question that I need to ask to uncover the truth. Well, that's part of it. But another part of uncovering the truth is making the prospect feel, and I shouldn't say making them feel, genuinely being real with the prospect that they feel you're being real with me. It doesn't matter how great a question I give you guys if the prospect doesn't feel like you're actually listening and picking up what they're putting down. So zoom out from trying to think, okay, my discovery process, my question, I've got to do the recap, I've got to do this. Just be human. Guy, you asked the opening question, guy gave you a bunch of stuff. In my mind, I'm just looking at Alex like a human being and going, Jesus Christ, man, this is affecting this guy a lot. And if that's what I'm truly thinking and feeling in my heart, I'm going to express that. I would be having to consciously not express it if I were to not express it. It's just natural. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, it does. And that's funny you say that, Josh, because that was like the memories that I'm recounting for this role play. That was the hardest period of my life. It was like demoralizing in so many ways.
Right. And so
Yeah.
if you express that in the other words that you gave before, which is, the four things, and someone just says understood, you might be like, why the fuck am I on this call? Like, why am I going to answer these questions? This guy's just trying to sell me. He's just trying to run me through a process. So you got to bring in the human element, guys. It's the most important thing. I'll say it again. I said it in the intro. This is why people get objections, guys. This is why you have to do follow up because people don't want to buy from you right now. And yes, a part of that is you don't ask the right questions to go deep enough. A part of that is you don't have the inner work down, so you don't bring the right energy, the detachment, things like that. But another part of it is you're just trying to do sales as opposed to have a real conversation. All right, let's keep going. So I would go back a little bit. Let's imagine that Alex has already summarized that. Say whatever you want to say now, Matt, as far as how you would genuinely be thinking and feeling. Then you'll have to do your recap, and then we'll go into the next question. So go from there.
Wow, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot here, Alex. Everything from, your business.
Sorry, Matt. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Another thing is sometimes just saying what you're thinking and feeling and then pausing, the prospect will probably give you more information because they now think you heard them and think that you're actually listening. Bear in mind, we've only asked one question. Most prospects, having been asked one question by a salesperson, are going to assume he's probably not listening to me. He probably doesn't give a fuck anyway. You then say, wow, man, it sounds like you've got a lot happening as far as your health. And you pause. He might then say, yeah, man, I mentioned I'm working 9 hours a day on my business and my business is actually losing money. You didn't even have to ask another question. And he just gives you something absolutely juicy because he thinks you're listening. This is taking sales to the next level, guys. So I just wanted to add that bit in, Matt. So I would say how you think and feel and then pause, see if he wants to add anything. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, and then go from there. So go.
Wow. It sounds like you're dealing with a lot every single day here, Alex.
Yeah, I am. And what sucks the most, Matt, is that my business is doing pretty well. Like it's growing right now. And this is like the best shape I've ever been in as far as like my bodybuilding and my strength. But like I don't feel good in the gym when I'm there. Like I don't want to wear a tank top because my skin doesn't look good. And I can't even really enjoy like the success of my business and all the work I put into it because I'm exhausted and I don't really feel like doing anything. Like I don't really feel like going out. I don't feel like dating and just like not confident in myself.
Wow. And I appreciate you sharing that with me. And I can't imagine like how that's making you feel on a day-to-day basis, man. like, I guess where you're at here, like with everything, because there's quite a bit that's affecting. You just mentioned a bunch, but I guess, in your thinking, what's got you the most concerned about all of these things you have going on with your health right now?
I would say what has me most concerned is that there's just got to be something that's really not going, there's something wrong, like internally, there must be something going on with like my immune system or some of my vital endocrine glands, possibly. Like I've been trying to do some research and figure this out. And I mean, I could have my mom had MS, so I could have pre-autoimmune disease or something. So that's my concern, is that my health is going to deteriorate over the next, few years if I keep going in this direction.
Wow. So for you, you mentioned, despite all of these things, right? Business is going well. Like it's better than it's ever been, and you're growing right now. So I think, like, with some of these conditions, I mean, how are you able to push through here? Like, what does this look like on a day-to-day basis for you? Because your business, you said, is doing better than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious for you, like, how does that affect your lack of energy, the chronic fatigue you talked about? You're extremely tired and have brain fog, like you mentioned here. How is that impacting you on the business?
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm drinking like 3 or 4 cups of coffee to get through
Mhm.
it's a breakfast restaurant, so we're open from 7 a.m. until about 2 p.m.
Okay.
So I'm up at 5, meeting the team around 5:36 for prep, and drinking coffee, getting through the morning. Thankfully, I've got people now that work with me that can handle like a lot of the just like the little day-to-day tasks. But I used to be just like really excited to be there and have good energy to bring to the team, and then my customers would come in and people that I serve every day, and now I'm just like trying to get through the day basically. And like I told you, I'm very serious in my bodybuilding as well. So the shift wraps up around 2. I'm slamming pre-workout at 2:30, in the gym by 3. And, I'm getting through the workouts, like I said before. But first of all, I'm not really like confident in the gym anymore. So I'm wearing like sweaters and pants and stuff just to cover up, even though I am like training for aesthetics. So kind of sucks. And then by the time the day's done, man, like I am so tired and feeling just like so low energy. So ultimately, the big thing underneath it all is like I'm just like not enjoying the things that I'm doing anymore, just because I'm so tired, foggy, my skin is messed up. So it's just nothing's enjoyable.
Sounds rough, man. So I'm curious, you're saying nothing's enjoyable, yet you say your business is doing better than it's ever been.
Mhm.
What's that doing to you to have a business that is just so successful, more successful than you've ever been, and yet you're just
Hang
not
on.
able to
You,
enjoy it?
you're on the right lines with the question, which is the disparity between I'm not enjoying anything, but my business is doing well. That's exactly what you need to dig into. The way you phrased it was a little confusing. So, what about if you just said it like this? You mentioned your business is doing better. So, why are you not enjoying anything? Simpler.
Okay.
But you're on the right lines. You're like, hang on, I'm not clear. I'm not clear why his business is doing better, but he's clearly not enjoying anything. So I would have just asked, okay, so your business is doing better. You are getting through your workouts. Why are you not enjoying anything then? In other words, what we want to dig into is what does he mean by his visceral experience of getting through? I'm getting through things. I'm getting through the day, or he actually said, I'm trying to get through the day. I'm getting through my workouts. Okay, so if you are getting through them and if you are getting through growing the business, why are you not enjoying anything? We want to dig into the pain, which is why are you not enjoying anything? What do you mean by that? Yeah, so you're on the right lines, but just changing the phrasing a little bit.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that business is doing better than it has ever been. You're still crushing the gym workouts and all of those things. I mean, I'm curious, why are you not enjoying anything?
Yeah, well, I started this business 2 years ago, and the business wasn't making any money for the first 12 months, maybe even the first 18 months. We started maybe breaking even.
Mhm.
And so now I'm at a point where it's like I've got money coming into my bank account, but like I don't want to do anything. Like I live in Los Angeles. I don't want to go to the beach. I don't want to go out and meet people. I don't want to go dating because I don't feel good. And I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. So it's like all the fruits of my labor have come, but I'm just not in a position where I feel like I'm able to enjoy it the way that I imagined that I would be able to at this point. And like I said, with the gym too, it's like I've had goals and plans to like compete. And there's also like really attractive women I see at the gym. And I'm just not moving really towards any of those goals of like meeting a woman or getting on stage and competing
Mhm.
because of my skin issues. And then on top of that, man, I'm like every day I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, what's going to happen a year or two, 3, 4, 5 years from now with my health conditions? Like, am I going to have MS like my mom? Am I going to have something worse possibly? Because there's clearly something going on, underneath the surface here.
Yeah, that sounds tough. One thing you mentioned that I am curious about, you said you have all of this success like going on, but it's not what you imagined it to be. What did you imagine it to be?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that I would be, obviously I'd have my business running the way it is,
Yeah.
which is like profitable and it's fun, for the most part. Like we're serving good food and we're like a hot spot in downtown LA, so people know us. But yeah, I'd imagine like I would wake up every day just like super excited and super like happy to get to work and have all this energy. And then I'd go to the gym and be able to like, take off my pump cover and like look really good and have like really glowing, like clear skin and be able to meet attractive women and who knows, like I'm in LA, so I could meet different people, make different connections, but just like imagine a more enjoyable, confident experience with all of the work and the time and energy I put into both my business as well as my bodybuilding.
Okay.
Okay. So
Let's pause. Let's summarize what this guy's universal issue is. What is the universal issue, guys? Pop it in the chat, Matt, if you've got it as well.
he's not having the fulfillment in life he expected by getting the things that he has now, that he was aiming for. He has them, but he's not getting the fulfillment from them because something is going on with his health. And that's very concerning to him because of the history with his family, his mother with MS. He doesn't want to go down that road. And the issues he's been having are very concerning to him that he thinks he may go down that road.
Yep. So the biggest frustration is not is not just the lack of external enjoyment. That is frustrating for people. If they're having a shit life, they're having a shit life. But it's 1,000 times more frustrating if they're putting in a bunch of time and effort and on top of that they're not able to enjoy life. It's 1,000 times more painful if someone just has a shit life and they're not going to the gym, they're working a 9 to 5, they're not investing in building a business, they're not doing any of those things. Yes, they're going to be annoyed that they're having a shit life. But what's really bothering this guy is he's putting in the time and the energy to be someone, to be a bodybuilder, to be a business owner, to care about his family. And all of those inputs are not generating the outputs because of this one thing in the middle, this almost catalytic converter that's changing all of the inputs into the wrong output. Does that make sense? The real frustration is the annoying conversion of all of these good inputs into a negative output. That's very different to someone that is putting in bad inputs and getting a bad output and going, well, I'm annoyed because of the bad output. So when if I said to this guy, so I get it, Alex. You've got this really shit life. You go into the gym and you're not getting the results you want. You're struggling to get through your workouts. You've got a business. You're on your feet 9 hours a day. You're struggling to get through that. Is that accurate? The prospect would probably say, yeah, but it's not the real thing. And the level of trust and the level of holy shit, this closer, a representative for Dr. Pompa for the business, understood my shit so clearly, I have to buy from them. That won't happen. Whereas if I'd have said, so it sounds like the real frustration for you, Alex, and correct me if I've got any of this wrong, is you're the type of guy that's putting in this time, putting in this energy, putting in this commitment to build yourself physically, build yourself financially, build yourself socially as someone that could date a good woman and maybe, you know, have a long-term relationship or at least just have a dating life, wanting to take care of your family. And despite all of that, you're putting in all of these good inputs and all of this, you know, good attention and effort. But because of your underlying health issues, none of those things, in your own words, are giving you the fruits of your labor. Is that accurate? The guy'd be like, yes, that's exactly what's going on. And I've said this on previous calls, guys, and I'll say it again. The level of exactness that you get into the prospect situation is the likelihood that they give you their credit card. It's not that you said anything fancy. It's not that you said a cool word track or you had your tonality and you leaned on your hand and you said, so I'm curious, you know, what happens in 6-12 months? None of that matters, guys. What matters is how accurately did you understand the prospect situation? And there's two things that are going to determine that. How accurately you understand the prospect situation is how good you are at asking questions. Number two is how good you make the prospect feel like you're listening and understanding the answer to each question, because then they'll give you more accurate information. If you don't ask the right questions, you won't dig into the real truth. Or if you're good at asking questions, but the prospect just doesn't feel like you're picking up what they're putting down, they'll just shut down. They just won't really give you the truth. So you have to nail both of those two things, which we've covered so far. I gave Matt an example of asking a slightly different question, and I gave all of you an example of when the prospect responds and you just say understood, and it's like, well, what were you actually feeling about the prospect situation? Well, I thought it was quite overwhelming what they're going through. Okay, then express that. Does that make sense, guys? The accuracy that you understand the prospect situation is the likelihood that they will buy from you. And if they feel like you accurately understand them, there is a thing in psychology that's called by association. If they think that the closer understands their situation so accurately, by association, their subconscious mind assumes that the program is going to be equally as accurate to their personal issues. Just by association, it's, oh, the closer understood exactly what I've got going on, so I guess the program must be a perfect fit as well. Whereas if they're like, well, the closer didn't quite get what I'm going on, what's going on for me, they'll assume, yeah, this program probably isn't quite what I need. I'll look around at the end of the call. Oh, I've got another call booked with someone else. I need to talk to them first. It's all about accuracy, guys. Does that make sense to everybody? Pop in the chat, guys, if that makes sense. If you got a question on that, let me know. Yes, 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 yes. All right, Matt, is that clear for you?
Yes.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Keep going.
So Alex, what I'm hearing, and let me know if I'm cuckoo here and I'm not understanding you, right? Like, you're doing a lot of great things here. You're running a great, successful business. You're putting in a ton of work in the gym. You're getting, you're getting your workouts and all of those things that you're doing. You're doing a lot of great things, and you're basically seeing the fruits of your labor come through. But at the end of the day, you feel like you're not able to enjoy all of it because of what's happening with your health. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think it's slightly different. Tell me if I'm right, Alex. Yes, it's that he's not quite enjoying the fruits of his labor. Tell me if this is right, Alex. But is the frustration not more that you're kind of annoyed with, like, for all the good stuff I'm doing, and I loved your phrasing there, Matt, which was you're doing a bunch of great stuff. You kind of expected it to be better or easier, or like the chip on your shoulder is like, this just doesn't seem fair. Is that what it is? You feel kind of like, hey, I'm a good guy doing all of the right things, and like life shouldn't feel like this for a guy that's doing all of the right things.
Hmm.
Is that more what it is?
Yeah, it definitely felt unfair and like unjust.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
yeah, like this, that's a good way to put it. It's funny when you were talking about that summary too, because I never had somebody understand it on that level.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost a little emotional, but yeah, I appreciate that.
You're welcome. That's the thing, guys. Like, these are role plays, and sometimes the closers that play the prospect are playing pretty similar to their life. Even on a role play, you being able to understand this is just very deep connection with another human being, guys. You being able to connect with someone else, one of the deepest human drivers is to feel understood. There was a president, I forget the name who it was, and his campaign line was "I feel your pain." That was the line for his campaign. It was a while back. I'll just quickly look it up. "I feel your pain, president." Bill
Clinton?
Clinton. Bill
Yeah.
Clinton, yeah. And his whole campaign was "I feel your pain." And like that's like one of the deepest human drivers, guys. It will make another human being emotional. And our goal is not to make the prospect emotional. Our goal is to make the prospect feel we get it. We get where you're at. We get why you're there. We get where you want to get to. And by having all three of those points, we can fix this. People don't feel like they won't feel like you can fix it if they don't actually feel understood first. And the minutest difference in the accuracy of being understood is the difference between them feeling like I'm going for it, I'm going to sign up, I'm going to do the program, I believe in it, or I'm not 100% sure. And not 100% sure is the same as 0% sure for a prospect about to give you their credit card. Okay. For those asking in the chat, pumping up, not really. We're like, hey man, this sounds shit. You're doing a bunch of great things and you're not getting results. He's like, yeah, that's not pump up. And then the other one was Jordan was like, how do we turn this into ownership? It's like, we have to ask him why he feels this is happening, why he feels it's happening, and what he feels he needs to solve it. And then that will move the conversation forward. All right, keep going, Matt.
Where should I pick up from the last?
Wherever you want to.
Okay. So what I'm wondering, Alex, is why do you feel this is happening?
Yeah, good question. Well, I've done done a bunch of research over the last 6 months, and I'm pretty much 100% convinced that it's pretty much got something to do with my diet and the foods that I'm eating. So, for the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years of lean bulking, and putting on muscle, I've been eating somewhere between 35 to 4,500 calories a day.
Mhm.
And not all of it has been like the healthiest, cleanest foods because it's just been hard for me to like get that many calories in consistently with just eating clean foods and cooking all my meals and all that stuff, especially being busy with running a business and training 2, 3 hours a day. So, I've been eating like, gluten and lots of grains and probably like lower quality proteins, things like that. So that's based on the research I've done, I feel pretty confident that that's the underlying issue there.
Okay, interesting. What I'm wondering then, if totally hear you, and if you think it may be the diet, and based on your research here, I guess what I'm
Well,
wondering.
also Matt, like when I first started the business for the first, 12, 18 months, I was sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a night on average.
Mhm.
And then like I said, I was ingesting so much caffeine on a daily basis that based on the research I've done, I'm pretty sure that I've shot my adrenal glands, and that's
Okay.
also then affected my kidneys. So I'm not filtering, like my lymphatic system is probably pretty stagnant right now. And a
Okay.
lot of that inflammation is, I think is starting to show up in the skin issue. So it's, yeah, a combination of like lifestyle and diet.
Okay. So how long ago did you come to like that, I guess, that realization?
Just recently. Yeah, I did a bunch of research, and at first I was like, thinking that it was something external that I could like apply to my skin or whatever, but then I started, reading different books and even following Dr. Pompa and learning that like these different autoimmune diseases and stuff like that, and even skin issues are like outward manifestations of inward issues, and that, the things that we eat, the things we put on our skin, the lifestyle we live, all that stuff is directly affecting our health and the way our body functions.
Mhm.
So yeah, just recently I've been able to make that connection from just doing more research and digging deeper into just how the body works.
Sure. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So recently, like in the last, like this week, or how
Mm,
recently are we talking?
no, I'd say within the last like month and a half, 2 months, it's become like very clear to me that the things I've been doing have been actually causing this issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of you came to that, like you said, the realization about a month and a half, 2 months ago. What I'm curious is, in that time, since then up to now, what have you been doing to correct all of these things you realized you were doing wrong with your diet?
You're saying before I made the realization?
No, since you had the realization about a month and a half, 2 months ago, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
what have you been doing to correct those dietary problems you mentioned that you were doing that got you into the situation you're in?
Yeah, well, the big thing that I've had to do, which sucks, is I've cut back on my bodybuilding. So
Okay.
I'm not training as much and I'm not eating as much, and then I'm more conscious of what I'm eating. I've actually gone more towards like a raw food diet to try and promote a deeper detoxification. And I'm in the sauna more often, like trying to open up my skin and yeah, just trying to promote a more like cellular level detoxification process. Because based on the research I've done, that seems to be the only way to like really get the lymphatic system to start, basically moving and cleansing itself. And then also to start to like release a lot of the inflammation and even like the damaged cells that exist right now inside of me to try and get them out so that like cell autophagy can happen. So like also doing a lot of fasting. But yeah, that's just been recently. Like that's been just the last, few weeks.
Okay. So in the last few weeks, when you have been doing that, what have your results been? Have you been feeling better, or what's been happening?
Yeah, I've been feeling better. I've been feeling better. I've had some detox symptoms though, so I've been noticing how, as I pursue the cleansing and the detox, like these different symptoms will come up and I'll have like pain in certain areas in my body that will exist for maybe either a few hours or a day or so. And then as I continue the cleansing and the detox, like these things are removing themselves. And then I'm
Okay.
also like going through like emotional detox too.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's just like really opening me up.
Okay. Just so I can kind of understand a little bit, like you mentioned the symptoms that are coming up. What symptoms are coming up as you're detoxing? What are you seeing?
Yes. So I think the big ones are like, I've had certain injuries in the past that I've had through playing sports and through bodybuilding. And like
Mhm.
my knee is a good example. Like I haven't had much knee pain in the last few years, but then as I've been detoxing, I noticed like an immense amount of pain that was building up in my knee for about a day. And then as I just continued detoxing, like the pain just
Mhm.
left. Like it was gone.
Oh, okay.
So that would
Understood.
be, yeah. And I also had a tooth issue recently, or not recently, but over the last few years that I woke up one morning and like I thought I had something really wrong, messed up with my tooth. And then
Mhm.
the day went on, and then all of a sudden, like it felt like something kind of popped, and then something got released, and then all the pain was gone.
Okay. Okay. So, well, just kind of wanting to just be clear in my mind, so I make sure I'm understanding you correctly, and kind of exactly what's happening here is like a couple of months ago, you came to the realization that the way you've been eating, what you've been doing to your body had been affecting you. You kind of came across, or you did come across, what you feel like is the answer of changing your diet, working on doing things like you talked about with sauna and some of these other healing modalities to really open your body back up to heal itself. That's been a couple of weeks. You started some symptoms, but then they kind of went away as you kept going, right? Is that do I have it right?
Yeah, yeah, more or less. I mean, that's
Okay.
exactly what's been going on.
So what I'm curious about then is, obviously you mentioned you've been following Dr. Pompa for a while. If everything is progressing in a good direction for you, why are we on the call right now? Why are we connecting about possibility of working with Dr. Pompa?
Great where you're going, but you're beating around the bush.
Okay, just go
Alex,
straight for it.
do you still feel like this is the answer?
Are we role playing?
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question?
So you said something to the effect before. I think there was a specific word you used. I think it was. I don't think it was solution. Pop in the chat, guys, if you heard the word. But Alex said something like, I feel like this is the answer or whatever. He's been trying it. He had some symptoms, and then they're disappearing. So I'm just going to ask: do you still feel like what you're doing is the ultimate solution to all of these issues?
Yeah, I think a cellular detoxification is the way to go. Yeah.
Got it. And do you feel that what you're doing on your own is going to ultimately fix all of the problems that you have if you just see it through on your own?
It's possible. Yeah, it's possible that with enough time and research and, digging around for the right information, then it's possible that I can I can get the healing I need on my own. Yeah.
Got it. If you were to ballpark it, how much time do you think it's going to take you to heal everything if you continue this on your own?
From the research I've done, I think it would be somewhere around 2 years.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And how much extra time and effort do you think you would have to put in over those 2 years continuing to do your own research?
I think it would be like what it's been like the last month, which is like I'm pretty much every free hour I have outside of my running my business, I'm putting towards like reading and watching videos. So it's adding up to like 4 or 5 hours a day right now.
Got it. So 4 or 5 hours a day, 2 years. Let me just calculate that. 365 times 2 times 4. So 2,920 hours. Okay. So what I'm curious about then is, do you want to spend another 2 years and 2,920 hours of your own time to fix this on your own? Or would you rather invest some of your own money to speed up the process and to buy back all of that time and potentially to actually do things in a better way because of all of the expertise of Dr. Pompa? Which of those would you prefer to do?
Yeah, I would prefer to work with someone like Dr. Pompa, which is why I'm on the call. I know I
Okay.
could probably figure it out on my own, but I don't really believe in that. Like even with my training, I've invested into, coaches and people to help me improve my physique in a faster period of time.
Okay. You mentioned you don't really believe in that. What don't you believe in?
I don't believe in like having to do it all on my own, like figuring it all out on my own.
Okay. So how long have you been trying to figure it out on your own?
Well, 6 months ago, when like this issue became really serious, I was reaching out to my like normal doctor that I have, and that's when I started getting the blood work done. So like even
Uh-huh.
when this first started, I was reaching out to doctors and trying to figure out what was going on.
Okay. So you've kind of been doing a bit on your own, but a bit with whatever doctors you could find. Is that a fair assessment?
Correct. Yeah, I
Okay.
had not found a doctor yet that I felt like really understood what my issue was. So
Okay.
I felt like I had to take matters into my own hands to some degree.
Got it. How do you feel comparatively with the level of understanding of your real issues that Dr. Pompa has compared to all of these doctors that you've tried in the past?
Well, when I first saw his content, it felt like, whoa, this was like the doctor I've been looking for, like someone who actually understands what I'm dealing with and has experience dealing with this across like a large number of people, not just like a one-off random case, but like multiple. It seemed like he had worked with maybe hundreds of people who had been dealing with some sort of like, cellular issue, autoimmune issue. And so, yeah, I was really excited when I saw his stuff.
Okay. You mentioned that, this feels like the doctor you've been looking for. I'm curious, given the conversation that we've had and how much you've got going on as far as the business, the bodybuilding, the mental clarity, the skin, your family, how how do you feel thinking that you may have found the doctor that you've been looking for?
I feel relief for the first time in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I feel like I'll be able to enjoy my life again.
Uh-huh. Okay. So I'm curious then, how much longer do you want to have that potential for relief as opposed to actually starting to get that relief?
Well, not much longer. I mean,
Is there anything else that we need to cover as far as why you need to do this, why you haven't been able to solve it in the past because you haven't had doctors that truly understood your issue on a cellular level? Is there anything else that we need to understand as far as you preferring to make an investment to save your own time and to save your own effort and potentially to save potentially wasting time, not truly getting to the root cause of the issue? Is there anything else that we haven't covered as far as moving forward today?
no, I think you're very clear on my issue and the direction I've been moving in, and it's led me here to Dr. Pompa. And I feel very confident that his experience and his understanding of health is where I need to be.
Okay, cool. That's it. We've got his issues.
Mhm.
We know there's a shit ton of issues. We made the prospect feel understood. We tied him down that he doesn't want to do it on his own. He prefers to put money into it. We tied him down that he feels that Dr. Pomper is completely different to all of the other doctors as far as he understood the real issue at a cellular level. You don't really need anything else, guys. But where Matt was going off the ball at the end, which I've seen a lot of you guys do, is like trying to beat around the bush. Just tie them down, guys. And if you go for the tie down and the answer is no, okay. That's what detachment means, guys. Detachment doesn't mean I'm going to fanny around the question that I know I need to ask, but I'm a bit nervous about asking it. So I'm kind of just going to be really soft and gentle about it. Like, well, I'm kind of curious. Like, if you're doing this and it's working, like, why are we on this call? No, just say, okay, so you think it's working. Do you still feel that's the solution? Yes. Okay, well, why not just see that through? Well, and then because you just keep digging, well, it's going to take me more time. It's going to take me a bunch of research. I'm not actually 100% sure if it is the solution. Okay, so what would you prefer to do? Carry on in the direction you're going or invest in an expert? I want to invest in an expert. Why? Well, because of blank, blank, blank. I've done it in the past. I do that in other areas of my life. Okay, cool. Why, if you do you want to invest in Dr. Pomper? Well, because I think he's different. Well, how different? Well, I think he's completely different to everything else that I've seen in the past. In what way? And I'm just getting the prospect to give me the answers that I need because I have two beliefs that I'm holding. Belief number one, I assume that the prospect does have the answers I want because it's a better belief to have as a closer. Plus, they did book in a call. So I just don't hold the belief that people book in calls when they're that uncertain about the offer. I just don't hold that belief. Now, a lot of you guys would be thinking, well, I've had prospects that say, oh, I'm not really sure about this and I'm not really sure about that. That's because you weren't listening to their answers earlier on in the call, that they actually were not certain about you and your level of expertise, but they're not going to turn around to you as the closer and say, you know what, Matt, you weren't really listening to my answers and you didn't really get my issue, so I don't really trust you. They're not going to say that. What are they going to say? Well, I'm not really sure about Dr. Pomper. I haven't really done enough research. Why are they saying that? Because they're saving face. They don't want to say to you that you're the issue. So they're going to use a third party, which is the offer owner that they know isn't on the phone call. And they're going to say it's the offer. Oh, I'm not really sure about e-com at the moment. Well, what are you not sure about? Have you heard of Jeff Bezos? Yes. So what? You don't understand how selling things online can make you rich. What else do you need to know? That, of course, they're sure about e-com. They just don't trust you. Does that make sense, guys? And you have to understand human behavior to realize that there's deeper levels where you see one thing and you think, oh, the prospect told me that they don't believe in e-com. Well, if you actually understand human behavior and you realize people like to save face, they don't like to say to you, hey man, I don't really like you as a salesperson. You're not listening to me. You're not understanding me. Quite frankly, I think you're thick as shit and I don't want to buy from you. They're not going to say that to you. People just don't do that. But you have to understand human behavior to realize that. Is that clear, everyone? Matt, I think you have to go. So if you need to bounce, I don't want you being late.
Yeah, I do. Just a quick question.
Sure, go for it.
Will this be posted this weekend? Because I'm just want to listen to this on repeat. So
No, it goes up on Monday.
okay,
So
cool.
Monday.
No worries.
Awesome. All right, Matt.
All right.
I'll see you
Thank you,
soon. Have a
Josh.
great call.
Appreciate you.
My
Good job,
pleasure.
Matt.
Thank you, Alex.
All right, guys, let's keep breaking some of this cool down. So did that make sense to you, Alex, what we were doing at the end, just tying you down?
Yeah, it did. It was interesting because when you took over the role play, I know who Dr. Pompa is. I'm pretty familiar with his stuff. And so my avatar that I was playing, I was already like pretty much like, yeah, I know Dr. Pompa. I want to work with him. And so at first I was like, oh, I wonder where Josh is going with this because I'm not really looking to put up a lot of resistance. But I didn't, when you kept going, I felt like you were genuinely unattached. It was like just a place of like, okay, well, yeah, you're doing this and why not just continue doing that? Oh, well, I believe in, investing in myself and having coaches. Okay, awesome. And then the how much longer question was, it landed pretty well. And I was wondering if you were gonna try to tie me down because I said not much longer. But yeah, there was no need to actually. So it was interesting how you were able to perceive that even on the role play because I was pretty much ready to get going.
So let's dig into that. How can I perceive that? I can perceive that because of the entire discovery. The very first opening question, you gave us everything. Business, bodybuilding, mental clarity, physical appearance. For a guy, I mean, and dating, we got into a little bit later, which goes off the physical appearance. It's like, how much worse can it get for a guy? Like, what were we missing? Your finances, your dating life, your physical appearance, your health, your passion, and your mind. Well, what else is there? I mean, you could have said it's affecting my spirituality, but aside from that, we pretty much covered everything. So therefore, my focus in the discovery is now, does he need this? Does he need it now? And does he need it from us? Well, so long as I've got those three things, you're in enough pain that you're going to try it. That's part one. Is I was reading the rest of the discovery. Part two, which is a massive thing, but I didn't dig into it because you don't need to dig into it. But for everyone on the role play, I need you to understand when someone says, I always invest in mentors or assistants. I that's just how I make decisions. The necessity to like bury someone in as much pain that typically owns a business, which means you've obviously understand business and investing. You're a bodybuilder, which means you understand, hard work and no pain, no gain. Plus, you say that you've invested in mentors before. That's very different to someone that works a 9 to 5, doesn't take care of their physical appearance, and has never invested in anyone. Completely different avatars. So how deep you need to go into like burying someone in the pain, the cost of the pain, the consequence of the pain. Why haven't they done anything about it? Are they truly serious about doing something about it now? It's all contextual. It's all contextual. If you try doing that with someone that owns a business, is a bodybuilder, and says that they invest in themselves, you might make things worse on the sales call. But you do still need to tie someone down black and white. You can do it your way, spend 2 years, spend 2,900 hours, or you can invest. Which one do you want to do? I want to invest. Okay, why? Well, that's what I always do. I don't want to spend 2,900 of my own hours. Plus, I'm not actually certain that it will work. Okay, you've just told me you're not certain to keep doing it your way. And whilst being uncertain, you're going to continue spending 3,000 hours. How much more of a tie down do I need? You've told me what I need to know. Okay. Anybody else in the chat have any takeaways or questions? What was your light bulb, Pete? Do you want to come up on the call and share it?
There we go.
What's going on, Pete?
I was waiting on a call that doesn't look like they're gonna show up, so I was like, yeah, I want to come on and say something. The big light bulb for me was it's not about like making them feel the pain, feel the emotion, but it's them understanding that you get it. Because one of the big things I added to my state checklist was be the guy who just gets it. Because I kept hearing tell me that, and I was like, and now that clicked for me. Oh, that's why I fucking wrote that down. That makes sense now, right? So that was my big thing.
Massive. Well done.
And then my understanding is once you've got that established in the conversation of, okay, hey, this guy gets me. They understand this is the pain. It sucks. They're clear on it. I trust them. It's okay. Then it's more of the logical steps. Like you just said with tying down is like, okay, well, do you want to continue it? No. Okay. What have you tried? What are you doing? Do you want to solve this now? Are we the people to do it with? Are you ready to change? Yes. That's kind of my understanding now.
100%. Well spotted, Pete. Yeah. You need to know the emotion. You need the person to tell you the emotion so that you can show them, hey, I get it. This is not a good situation. It's a bad enough situation that you need to do something about it. In many cases, you don't need to just like bury someone in the feelings and the emotions if it's this type of avatar. If it's someone that's denying, ignoring, negligent, doesn't do anything in their life, like Alex was not the guy that said, hey man, I've got really bad brain fog. I've got fatigue. So I don't go to the gym. I don't invest in myself. I don't run a business. I don't do anything in my life. It's like, no, this is the type of guy that despite all of that is still going to the gym, is still standing on his feet for 9 hours a day, is still thinking, hey man, I'd like to be dating. I'd like to meet someone. Like he's got a very different mindset. The whole point of, I've said this before, your questions and the result of your questions, which is the pain and the emotions, is to get the prospect into the right mindset to be able to solve their problem. The right mindset being a mindset of, this is costing me things. If someone is in denial, you need to bury them in the pain so that they can't be in denial anymore. They cannot be ignorant. You've pulled out all of the feelings and all of the emotions so they can't have that negligence. But this guy wasn't being like that. He was like, opening question, dude, I'm running a business. I'm on my feet all the time. I don't feel good. I'm trying to get through the day. Same thing with my workouts. I'm not dating. I'm not confident in myself. I don't like the way I look. My skin, it's affecting my conversations with my customers, my suppliers, and my team. It's like, this guy's admitting everything. I don't need to be like, well, you know, what's really going on? It's like, well, he just told you what's really going on. So now I just need to logically tie it down. Well, you're trying to fix it on your own. Why not just keep doing that? No, I don't want to do that. Well, why not? Okay, well, this reason. Okay, cool. Why Dr. Pomper? Well, this reason. Okay, cool. So this is your choices, Alex. You're doing this. You can carry on that way. You feel like you found the doctor you're looking for. How much longer do you want to feel like you found the doctor you're looking for versus actually working with that doctor and getting the relief that you want? I don't want to wait any longer. Okay, cool. Excellent. That's it. Simple. So it's a very, very different type of role play to a lot of the ones we've done before because of the type of prospect that Alex was being, which goes back to the key point. If you want to go to the next level as a closer, you have to learn principles, the internal mastery principles, so that you can be present enough to read the prospect and the core fundamental sales and human psychology principles, so you understand what you're actually trying to do on a sales call. It's not get to the end of your script. It's get the prospect into a place where they're thinking clearly about the pain and the cost of their situation, and then committing to one way or another what they're going to do about it. That's it. If you learn fundamentals, guys, you're able to navigate whatever type of prospect and whatever type of conversation you have, because every prospect is different. If you're just learning one method, a script or objection handling or tonality, you would have tried to handle this prospect in the same way that you would handle a totally different prospect. And you probably would end up losing both of them. Make sense?
One final question on that, because I noticed too, it's like, 'cause I deal with usually the opposite, where it's like you have to bury the pain more because there's a lot of rationalizations, lack of action, right? And usually you're just cutting out the, when they say, well, you know, I've been doing well, I make money, but, right? And then it's like you cut out the doing good part and just stick with the glass half empty, like, which is their real reality they're trying to rationalize. With this scenario though, because this is a guy that's active, that does things, you left that in. Okay, so you are trying things, but you feel this way.
100%.
So that was what you meant by like it's all contextual. Yeah.
It's all contextual. And you summarized it very well. The level of rationalizing that someone is doing determines how much you need to try and dig and dig and dig for the pain and the emotions, because they won't buy and they won't solve the problem if they continue rationalizing. So you have to use your question asking ability to try and unwind the rationalizing. There was no point in this call where Alex, as the prospect, was saying, oh, it's not that bad. No, he was like, I feel shit. I don't feel confident. Nothing's enjoyable. It's affecting every fucking area of my life. Okay, fine. Well, you've just admitted all of that to me. You got to remember, your questions are tools to get to an outcome, but you might already have the outcome without having needed to ask the question. Or there's different ways to get to the same outcome. Like I showed Matt, you ask a question, you tell the prospect a summary, and they're like, oh shit, that was exactly right. You pause, and then they'll just tell you more issues. It's all about knowing what the outcomes are that you need on a sales call, and then how do you get to the outcomes, as opposed to what are the inputs, what is the exact input that I need to use on the call at this time? Is it this question or this tonality? It's like, it doesn't work like that, guys. You've just got to get to the end result, and there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any takeaways or questions that they want to bring to the floor?
I have a quick one since I'm already up here.
Yeah, go for it, Alex. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just interesting because in the last few weeks, I've had a couple situations where I've had a prospect similar to the one that I was playing, where they were a little bit at a higher level, like they weren't procrastinators, they weren't rationalizers, and I didn't pick up on that, and I stuck to, more or less my script or what I told myself the call had to look like, to the point where I've had prospects like literally hang up on me.
Yep.
And so this has been like a huge eye opener for me, and especially playing the prospect, because like I said, there was a point in what Matt was doing where I'm like, what is he trying to gain from me kind of feeling? And it didn't feel good. Because I was so open about, like you said, so open about what was going on, and not looking to put the blame on anybody else or looking to make excuses. Like I was proactively basically just trying to find a solution, but also taking matters into my own hands to some extent. And so what you did at the end was just, it made a lot of sense, because it's like, okay, well, everything's been covered. We don't need to go any deeper, but it's like, okay, well, you have two options. Which do you want to do and why? And then, okay, let's move forward. And that could have been a 20-minute discovery, in total. And the call could have been done in 30, 35 minutes, payment accepted, everything, ready to go.
And it could have been even worse, that you spend all of that extra time in the discovery and the prospect just hangs up, because they've lost faith in you. They've lost trust in you, because they feel like you. Part of it is not listening to the prospect's answers, but another part that the prospect subconsciously knows is, and this will be a weird one for all of you to wrap your head around, is subconsciously a prospect that has never done sales and never trained in sales knows what the closer does and doesn't need to close a sale subconsciously. In other words, the prospect is thinking, you've got everything you need to like make me buy. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Or why are you asking this? This is not relevant to me making a buying decision. It's not conscious. They don't know that consciously, but they're aware of like, what needs to happen on this call to move forward for both of us is not what's going on this call. And the prospect will be able to notice that, even though they've never trained in sales, because you just get that feeling of like, where are we going with this? And if the prospect is thinking, where are we going with this? Why are we talking about this? Then their perception of you is not only you're not listening to my answers to my question, their perception of you is now you don't even know what you're doing as a salesperson. And the irony is like people say prospects don't like to be sold. No. Prospects don't like to be on a call with a bad salesperson. Prospects love to be on a call with a salesperson that knows exactly what they're doing. They love it. They're like, oh, wow, I just spent the time, had a chat about the things that were relevant and mattered, and then we moved forward, or we decided that it was best to not move forward. It's the wasting time and feeling like the prospect's on the phone with someone that's just flailing around, like asking random shit or beating around the bush to ask a question. Like that bit where Matt was like, okay, so I understand this, and I get it. You've got issues, but you're doing it on your own. So like, why are we on the call? Prospect's going to be like, why didn't you just ask me directly? Like, okay, so why not just finish it on your own? It's about being more calibrated, just being human. Okay. Anybody else got anything they want to add? Ivan says, I experienced the same thing when I bought an e-com mentorship 2 years ago. No idea about sales. Yeah, 100% ready to buy before the call, and the closer just kept asking scripted questions. Absolutely. You will lose prospects that were just going to buy anyway because of your terrible sales process. Absolutely. Yep. Key takeaway for this entire call, guys, is being human. Being human. Mastering the sales skills at the level where when you hop onto the sales call, you just ditch any methodology or process, and you just have the conversation that you know you need to have. If you understand how to ask a question and how to listen to a prospect and what you need to get to move a call forward, when you're actually on the call, it should all be unconscious. You're just having a conversation. Make sense? All right, I'll say again, guys, does anybody else have anything they want to come up and add, or any questions? Nope. All right, I'm going to do a summary to the camera, and then I'll say bye, and then we'll be off. All right, that was another high-ticket sales role play that was pretty different to most of the other ones we did. And over that little chat there at the end with the members of the mastermind, we went into why it was different. It's different because my first point in the summary here, the notes, is you're talking to another human being, which not only means that to master sales, you need to master humans, you need to master being an authentic human, but it also means that your conversation should be different, because the prospect on the other end of the line is going to be different to the last one and different to the next one. So the first thing to realize is that if you want to get to the next level in sales, if you want to master sales, if you want to become a top closer and make a lot of money, the first fundamental element is the humanization of your process of selling. That means no tonality training, no scripted questions training, no trying to just force someone over the line, but just actually understanding people. Now, to understand people, the next point on my notes here is it needs to be conversational. It's not sales tactics. It's, for example, you ask the prospect a question, they respond, and if something they said was shocking, you might say, wow, that's pretty crazy what you've got going on. Just having those little moments of humanity makes the prospect feel heard, makes them feel understood. That means they're going to answer your questions that are coming up with more authenticity, and the whole sales process is easier for you and the prospect. All right, next one is accuracy. This is massive. I've said it in the call. I'll summarize it again. The accuracy of your summary of what is going on in the prospect's life is the likelihood that they choose to buy from you right now. The accuracy that you understand and summarize back to the prospect as you go through the call, what they're experiencing, the real depths of what they're experiencing is the likelihood that they buy from you. If someone is having a shit life and they're doing everything right on the inputs or the outside, and you just tell them, so it sounds like things are really shit, that's not 100% accurate. What is accurate is what is really shit for you right now, Alex, or whoever your prospect is that you're putting in all of the work, all of the effort, all of the time, all of the right inputs, and you're getting bad results. Oh, that's the truth. It's the very minute details that the difference between you getting it right and getting it wrong. And I said in the call, there's no 80% accuracy equals a sale. No. You're asking someone to entrust you with their future, with their goals, with their pains that they want resolved, and with their time, effort, money, and commitment. They're not going to do that if they don't feel 100% certain that you've got things accurately. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Next one is being genuinely unattached. There's no point trying to fake it and trying to sound unattached. You've got to genuinely just be having a conversation, asking the questions, and not being afraid to say, well, it sounds like things are going fine for you with what you're doing. Why don't you just see that through? And genuinely not caring whether they say, actually, yeah, I'll just see it through. Genuine detachment is a very, very important thing to making a sale. Next one was, what have we got here? Being the guy or the gal that just gets it. You have to understand people, guys. You have to understand humans. To do that, you have to do training like this training inside the mastermind, which is on human behavior, not really training on sales. You're training on understanding how people think, how they work, how they behave, and a lot of the contradictions in how they think, feel, and behave compared to what they say they want to accomplish. When you understand that, prospects can see and they can feel that you are someone that's mastered humans. You just get it. And when the prospect feels you just get it, they trust you. They want to buy from you. And the final one here was understanding differences in avatars. Similar to what I was saying about being human, but some prospects are going to rationalize a lot. They're going to lie. They're going to make excuses. And therefore, what you need to accomplish on the sales call is very different to a prospect that is giving you everything you need. In that case, you just got to tie down the logic. If they're not giving you what you need, you have to be able to dig and bury the prospect in the pain. The difference in those two versions of a discovery call is massive. But if you're following scripted processes, your discovery is exactly the same. So therefore, you're not going to be able to be flexible enough to manage the way the discovery needs to change for different prospects. And that's why your close rate is what it is. It might be 20%, 30%, 40%, but it's not 60, 70, 80, 90%. That's because your process is not flexible. Final one was, I think it was Alex was saying that prospects were hanging up. Prospects hang up on you because of all of the things that I've just listed out. Not being human, not being conversational, not being accurate in what you understood, not being genuinely detached, and not being the guy or the gal that gets it. So if you find prospects are hanging up on you, if you find prospects are giving you objections and not buying, if you find prospects are only ending up in your follow-up pipeline, and you no longer want to be dealing with all of those issues and all of the money that you're flushing down the toilet, then you need to master all of the things that we've just broken down in this training. You're not going to master those things by not truly putting in the work and not truly showing up as the person that you want your prospects to show up as, which means if you don't want your prospects to just say, I'll figure it out from YouTube, then don't be the prospect that says, I'll just try and figure it out on YouTube. You need true mentorship, you need a true community, and you need proper training that is more than just a YouTube video. We train on this stuff for 5 hours, if not more, every single week inside the Unicorn Closer Mastermind. If you want to go to the next level, if you want to be able to go deeper with your prospects, if you want to be able to live the life of your dreams, you have to commit to mastery. If that's something you want to do, click the link below this video and I'll see you on the inside.